Oh, it is that time again. Welcome everybody to another episode of Cryptids and Creepy Stuff. I am David. I am here as always, but I'm not the one that knows what's going on. We got this guy right here, our researcher extraordinaire, Bruce. What's up,
What's
Bruce?
up, ladies and gents? What's going on, David? How you doing?
I'm awake-ish. That's about the extent of it. Make sure you fix your settings.
Oh yeah, thanks for reminding
Yeah,
me.
got to do that. But this week, before we get into our episode, we have an extra assistance on this episode. I've said episode about 12 times already. So yeah, my D button is working correctly. So anyway, without further ado, RoboCop the man, and he's trying to do the eyebrow thing. This is not working for you, man.
It looks good on me.
But yeah, as I was saying though, this week, this episode, we will be discussing the ever elusive Snawfus. And no, that is not something we made up. This is a legitimate cryptid based out of Arkansas. I actually told somebody about it today, and they thought I was talking about some Disney character. So, or Dr.
Well, I mean,
Seuss.
I wouldn't be surprised if Disney or a Dr. Seuss affiliate would turn this into a character from their books or movies. It's kind of
Right.
interesting. I really enjoyed because I'm my lineage. I'm Scotch German, Scottish and Dutch. So it was really refreshing to see some old country mythology
Yeah.
coming into Arkansas, because several times in the past we've done on the cryptid side of this, there's been several like old British Isles type things that have made their way across the pond to Arkansas, because when Arkansas was first becoming a state, a lot of the migrants that came were Irish, Scottish, British, and then they intermingled with the local populace, and
and anybody
kinda
that's
did their thing.
watching this for the first time, SDU Networks has got a reputation for being weird, which we are on this, but this is a little bit different, Demon, than what we normally do on Thursdays. This is a little bit more serious, but we still want to have fun. So throw in your comments, throw in your questions, and we will try to answer them in a timely manner. So, Bruce, you want to go ahead and get us cranking on this weird little animal?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so the location, the sightings of this creature have been scarcely reported all along the Ozark Mountains, from Arkansas to Missouri, and even into Oklahoma and down into Texas. I wasn't able to find any official sightings reported. Personally, I couldn't find any newspaper articles like the Whitey, the White River Monster, or the folk monster. But I mean, it seems like the sightings of the Snawfus are they're like campfire tales, passed down from generation to generation. The Snawfus is a creature from the tales of pioneers of the emerging United States. So like I was saying earlier, a lot of pioneers that made their way into the United States and created or helped create the face of the United States as we know it today. Um, these tales and stories kind of came about from that. Um, the Snawfus has been described as a white deer with wings and huge antlers made out of living branches of either dogwood trees. Sometimes it could be apple blossom trees, fig trees. The antlers are branches of the tree like that are growing out of its head. Um, let's see here.
Hey Debbie, White River Monster, go back on our YouTube channel and you'll find the one we did on White River Monster. That was actually, I think, the very first episode of Cryptid.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, that was a really fun episode.
And Roland, this is just like SDU. Sometimes you just got to push in and be like, "Hey, shut up and let me talk."
Right. So I want to like always I want to kind of show a map of the general location of this thing or the general area of operation that this thing has been in. I don't have a bigger map of the Ozarks, but you can see how this circle it hits Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas for the most part because that's where the that's where the
almost it almost looks like it bumps down into our area, Roland.
Yeah, it does. It's
yeah,
really
for sure.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
that's
and
definitely close to our area.
oh yeah,
All right, I'm going Snawfus hunt. Where's my
right.
12?
So tales are that this creature is able to leap from the forest floor to the tops of the trees and to perch on the slenderest of branches like a squirrel, like almost like it's weightless, like feather light. It's described as jumping from branch to branch like a monkey, and it's said to make the sound similar to Haley Lou, and at other times, the Snawfus makes sounds like a songbird.
Haley,
Supposedly,
hold on, Bruce.
Haley,
I need you to
Haley Lou.
I need you to do the sound.
Me, you. Hello. There it is.
That almost is like similar to a whippoorwill,
Yeah.
like a shorter version.
But yeah, that's the noise that it's purported to make, and also at times it can sound like a songbird. The Snawfus is purported to exhale a blue mist from its mouth, which drifts upwards toward the sky, forming a blue haze of clouds. This behavior is particularly attributed to the Snawfus in autumn. So if you're not from Arkansas and you don't know about the Ozarks, the terrain and the flora and fauna of the Ozarks on autumn days in the morning mostly, and sometimes late at night when the humidity shifts and there's a cooling. And I'm not a Scientologist. I don't know weather patterns and stuff like that. So there is
a religion, not weather people.
You know what I mean. I'm not a weatherologist. I don't know. So yeah, if you're not from Arkansas and you know very little about the Ozarks, there is like a blue mist or like a haze, almost like a fog that sits over the Ozarks, and it kind of has like a bluish hue, very light blue, even lighter than my shirt. So
before we move forward, we need to pop up a picture on what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So there's been several over the years. There's been several kind of drawings and representations of the Snawfus. Here's I like this one. Here's a good rendition of the white buck with the antlers that are tree branches, the dogwood tree. Here's one with representation with the wings. It's more of a. This looks more like a drawing, like somebody like went into a police sketch artist and was like, "I just saw the craziest ass thing. You won't even believe it." It's a deer with wings, and it's got tree branches for antlers.
That's from years of inbreeding.
Yeah, there's another one with the dogwood tree, the in bloom. Just a kind of a slight. I've got two more, but I'm gonna hold those. Do one of you guys want to do the second section?
Robo, what do you have anything to add to what we
Well,
have researched?
well, so you were talking about it coming from other regions. It was actually first described by an ancient Greek poet, and they were called Elaphocentora, and
Right
it
on.
was a half deer, half human, which then also grew into a praeton, which was a winged deer that had the wings of an eagle.
Oh wow!
So
Okay,
coming
yeah.
all the way from Greek to the Ozarks, this mythical deer was talked about.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, in Ozark folklore, the Snawfus is commonly associated with other fantastic creatures of the region, such as the Goro, the Ozark Howler. But unlike the traditional legends associated with the creatures, the tales of the Snawfus are usually told in an openly, I guess what you would term tongue-in-cheek manner, indicating that the existence of the Snawfus isn't, largely accepted as uh, to be literally truth. But, as always, nobody knows for certain. But it is telling that the fundamental report of the Snawfus in print comes from a guy we've covered in past episodes, folklorist Vance Randolph in his book "We Always Lie to Strangers."
Yeah, we covered Vance, Mr. Randolph, back in um I want to say it was back during the Garou times. We covered him
Yeah,
there. He wrote about the Garou. He did a couple of books in the early '50s about these cryptids that were that lived in Arkansas.
yeah, yeah. And that's why his name keeps popping up in a lot of these.
Yeah.
Did Roland disappear? Oh, there
No.
he is.
You sleeping, bud?
Well, when we talk about the legend of it, there's clear mythological links between the Snawfus and the white stag of Arthurian legends from the British Isles. Both are white deer who appear in order to lead people deeper into the wilderness on some kind of like quest. Some versions of the Snawfus legend depict the mystic white deer as an omen of death, following the Celtic pattern of hellhound warning, in which one of the sightings of the creature leads to delight, the second sighting of the Snawfus summons fear, and a third and final sighting results in death. So it comes across as similar to what is the black dog?
Yeah, similar to that.
Similar to that. Anybody want to pick up
Oh
from
yeah,
there?
sorry about that. So in the late 20th century, the mythology of the Snawfus took on new elements as the creature became an emblem for the environmentalist community in the southern United States. On the first Saturday of October, environmentalists celebrate Snawfus Day by taking walks in natural settings.
Really?
Yeah, so like I guess it's
Something
almost like
I've never heard of before, and it has its own day.
right. That's some crazy stuff. In the Ozarks of Arkansas and Missouri, the Snawfus is a mythological creature of regional folklore, described as an all-white, deer-like creature, but much larger. The Snawfus is usually reported as to have plum or dogwood branches in full bloom growing from its head instead of antlers. And I covered this, I said this earlier. The blue haze that hangs over the Ozark Mountains in the fall and winter is attributed to the exhalation of the Snawfus. It almost reminds me of the like what's the dude's name? He was a giant and he had a bull.
Paul Bunyan.
Yeah, Paul Bunyan. You know, they
So
attribute a lot
tall
of
tale.
yeah, they attribute a lot of stuff that happened in America, in the early parts of the 20th century, as attributed to like the Grand Canyon was made from him dragging his axe and
Yeah.
different stuff like that. So a lot of like mountain folk and Arkansans and Ozarkers in general, kind of attributed these things to natural, supernatural occurrences, so to speak.
Well, and it probably
Uh,
came about back in the times when, like seeing an albino deer was not as
right.
common. So that
Oh yeah,
was
if you saw one, it was like a
like a
an
miracle.
omen, yeah, like an omen or a miracle. Uh, Leela A. Wade of Republic, Missouri, extensively studied the Snawfus and reported that it is believed to emit spirals of blue smoke when it breathes. The blue smoke emitted by the Snawfus drifts off and cloaks the Ozark Hills in a magical blue haze, which can still be seen in autumn. The smoke then spreads and settles over the mountain. The creature is also said to have the ability to fly and leap into the trees. Yeah, Roland. If you would like, just interject at any time. Like if you've got something extra that you've researched, and if something that I say or that David says uh, links to that in some way, just go ahead and throw it out there. Or I mean,
You'd be
like I
like,
said, you've
shut the
got
hell
the
up, Bruce.
yeah. Hey,
Um,
I got something to say.
so to answer Debbie's question, um,
Yeah.
what they said is that no one actually has ever seen one up close, but from a distance, they're basing it off the Praton. It's about 8 feet,
Holy
the size
crap.
of the size of a small horse.
Wow.
So that could almost, like, just my personal thought process is, I think of an albino elk,
Yeah.
you know, with the way their antlers grow and stuff like that. 'Cause, I mean, they could. That's honestly the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Well, and you were talking about it being an omen of death. I read somewhere that when they're talking about death, it wasn't necessarily as dying. They said they think it as a form of rebirth,
Yeah.
setting up
That's
for a new life.
yeah. So the cycle of life, things die so that things can live. Um, I shouldn't have to go into detail at this point about stuff. That's one big guy. Yeah, holy deer, right?
But I mean,
But
yeah, it's interesting on that. I think Bruce's brain is lagging today. So
no, I'm trying to get over here to this dang thing here. Okay, we're good. Sorry. So, in a tall tale on the origins of the creature, the Snawfus was said to have been captured by an orchardist who grafted Arkansas black apple scions onto its antlers. And scions are just branches that he may have pruned off of a tree. In another story, a pioneer hunting in the woods ran out of bullets and decided to use plum pits instead. Now, I know it sounds kind of silly, but like back then, the only weapon that pioneer people had was a flintlock like muzzleloader, and
yeah, I can see
you
that.
could, you know, if you eat a plum, you could load that little plum pit down inside there and pack it in. And the cool thing about a muzzleloader is, you know, and I've 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 had some experience and some experience with a muzzleloader before. You can shoot just about anything out of the barrel of that thing.
Yeah.
You can literally, if the only thing you have is a penny and a pair of shears that can cut through metal, you can load that dang muzzleloader with penny shards and it'll shoot.
Yeah.
Um, after the hunter fired at the albino deer and hit it in the head, the deer fell down, but nonetheless got up and ran away. And then several months later, this hunter heard stories of a white buck with plum trees growing from its head instead of antlers. Seeing an albino deer is considered a bad omen in the Ozarks, and Ozarkers warn that coming across the Snawfus is a sign of imminent death. Again, like Roland said, not necessarily the person who saw its death. It could be a death of you know, in autumn the trees start to lose their leaves and they start to, you know, the change of the you know, the nature, uh and you know, they almost go into like a hibernation phase in the wintertime. And it could, you know, the portent of doom could be that. Right. But you know, again, if you're of the sort and you're in the woods and you're hunting, what better trophy could there be, uh, besides the antlers of an albino deer, especially one that's as big as a horse.
Right.
So I picked up some stuff from a, I know this is going to sound kind of weird, but I picked up some information from an Ozark pagan website, almost like a mountain witch type scenario. I love using that Arkansas mountain witch talk. I think my great grandma was a mountain witch, y'all. Um, she had some
But,
potions and some concoctions.
but it looks like it. Reading up on this, though, it looks like it's similar descriptions on the stuff.
Yeah, but it says, you know, it's the Snuffus isn't just a singular beast of the Ozarks. It runs on the grounds of global folklore, with roots far away from Arkansas, Texas, and Missouri. Uh, this site says that it was an American manifestation of ancient British questing beast, the white stag. Um, uh, it's a creature of Awen, and Awen is like an earth spirit.
Huh.
Uh, it's a spirit animal of the woodlands of the Ozark Mountains, a silent but stunning beast that spreads moisture and vitality across the land. So you could almost imagine that with its breath creating the fog that then falls down onto the mountain, you know, it kind of breathes vitality into the surrounding plant life.
So it's an omen of death in some thought processes, but in other thought processes, it brings life. Basically,
Like Roland said, the research that he found, like I'm starting to believe that a lot more. You know, it's a spirit of the earth, and with that, you know, things die. They they in turn feed they in turn feed things that live. You know what I'm saying? They bring from death. There's life, kind of like the old phoenix, you know, rising from the ashes
yeah.
and becoming anew. Um, things, you know, that's unfortunate. That's an unfortunate side effect of being alive. You know, eventually we'll die and we'll become fertilizer for something that grows.
I'm gonna be putting a fireplace.
Oh yeah, I always said I wanted to be like, that song "Prop Me Up" beside the jukebox. But there's a caveat to that. Like for me, I want my family to find the worst taxidermist in the entire United States, and I want to look like my face is stapled to the thing, like one eyebrow like on the side of my head, and then the other one kind of just like really high with
So
one
you want to
eyeball.
look,
Like
so you want to look prettier than what you do now.
right.
Gotcha.
I want like a 2x4 to be like my shoulders, and then like half of my arms, and then broom handles, to kind of prop the rest of it up. You could throw a crutch in there. Just my skin just stretched over like the worst mannequin in the entire world. I think it'd be really.
We're chasing rabbits here.
I think that'd be really. I think that'd be really gross. No, not chasing rabbits at all. So it takes the appearance of a white deer with large antlers. They flowers and leaves are often they often grow on the branches. Perhaps some say that the antlers are themselves the branches of great trees. Perhaps both are true. If ever there was a creature who could defy the simple categorization, the Snawfus is it. At times, the Snawfus appears to have wings rising from its back. Whether it is flying or engaged in acrobatic leaping, the creature is able to rise easily from the ground to the very tops of trees. This part gets a little more carried away, I guess. As it moves across the Ozarks, the Snawfus breeze. I think I doubled that up. Why would I do that? Oh, okay. So like Awen, which is an earth spirit, when the breath of the Snawfus is the breath of life. So, it's like a what's that creature or fairy or spirit thing that like when it was in a Disney movie where like when it touched something like plants grew. I think it wasn't Disney. It was like Fern Gully. Like when she became like
the little fairy.
Yeah. When she became like the glowing fairy, like when she moved, like plants grew behind her. And then Tim Curry was the big oil monster.
Yeah, Fern Gully.
Fern Gully. That's it.
Those are fairies.
Awen is a mysterious mystical force understood by the inhabitants of ancient Britain as the inspiration of poetry and music, the flowing spirit of life in a parallel world, the source of magic and mystery, separated from the mundane world by only a thin veil. Distinctive cultures of the Ozarks was set through the combination of Native American, African American, and British mythology. Immigrants from England, Scotland, and Wales were represented much more strongly in the Ozarks than in other parts of what would become the United States. So British folk beliefs come with them, but were adapted into something new through exposure to other cultural ideas. Like I said before, this creature that started in ancient Greece made its way to the British Isles and into Wales and Scotland, and even probably down into Africa. So when the Snawfus, again, it says here that the Snawfus is not about what's real or imaginary. It's about Awen, which defies simple dichotomies of real and unreal.
You had a few things that kind of repeated itself on there. I'm like, man, this is weird.
Welcome to my ADHD life.
Roland, you got anything to squeeze into this?
Well, we keep talking about the blue breath, right? But where I read, they actually believe it was used for healing. So you could actually make your way into the mist and
be healed.
And be healed by the deer's breath.
Well, and that goes back to the whole mountain witch thing of if it breathes its breath and it's that bluish fog that's over the Ozarks, when that dissipates and falls onto the land, it's water that that breathes life into the plants and even the animals in some instances of the Ozarks. So yeah, that tracks with me. I'm completely against the idea of the Snawfus being a omen of death, but more an omen of life. Um, the yin to a yang, so to speak. Um, so crossing the path with a Snawfus is considered a token or a sign, but most likely you will never see it. It is said to run in circles around you, just out of sight as you walk through the woods. You may hear the bird song in its branches or even catch a glimpse of a dogwood petal, but you won't see it unless it wants you to. And you may be encircled in the haze of his blue, misty breath until you see nothing else. So you can get lost in the blue mist.
I want you to disappear.
Minty fresh. So in Ozark lore, white animals are regarded as kind of ominous omens. Um, I actually remember my great grandmother, talking about, like, a litter of puppies. It's an old wives' tale. It's not always true, but if a cat or a dog is considered an albino when it's born, it's usually blind. Um, I actually not too long ago, one of my dogs had a litter of puppies, and um, one singular white dog was in the mix. There's not a dark spot on this dog, and it's not blind. It's just really obnoxious.
Well,
Now,
I mean, if you look at a lot of people are like albino people. A lot of people are actually kind of creeped out by some of the albino people. They think that they're like, you see a lot of like movies and stuff. Usually,
oh,
when
powder.
you, yeah, well, not necessarily that, but like you see like the cultists and all like that. The albino person in the air, it's the evil cult, and all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
So that goes along with that same thought process, is that white albino animals are an ominous thing. It so that's probably where the albino part comes into it being considered an omen of death.
Well,
Because
like
people were creeped out, but were didn't
in
understand it.
in our in our going from where we were to where we are right now, physically, mentally, spiritually, there's an underlying, I guess you would call it, like a genetic memory of scary things. And it may be that things that are weird, or things that are unnatural, are considered, scary, and
Well,
that
I
that
think
that
for
tends to
me,
happen.
the lack of pigmentation in the eyes and stuff, where they look
Right, right.
red. They look
Oh yeah.
red, so that to people that looks evil. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Real quick, interesting story about albinos. I was in Iraq for OAF 1, and we rolled into Baghdad, or right outside of Baghdad, and we were in this town called Diwania. And as we were rolling to the town, I was driving, and I saw these three blonde haired white kids running up with this group of Iraqi kids. And I remember calling on the radio, being like, "Hey, y'all see these white kids? What are these white kids doing here?" And when they got close, and when we got stopped, and we were doing humanitarian work, talking with their parents, they were just born albino. They had the same, it's albinoism. It's a genetic disorder
Yeah.
in that just hiccups every now and then, and there's not a lot of them in the world, but they do exist. Um, so it was just really weird seeing that, when over there you were used to seeing a certain group of people, so to speak. And again, I'm not being racist. I'm just Just saying, just saying what it was like over there when you're used to seeing dark skinned people because they live in the desert and their skin is darker. When you see three blonde haired white kids run up, you're like, what's going on?
Right.
And
Catch you off
again,
guard there.
yeah, and again, I was 20 years old, so I was technically a kid myself. So it was just a funny little occurrence.
Right.
So in Celtic lore, otherworldly creatures are white with red or pink ears, and sometimes red or pink eyes. Again, that falls back to the albinism,
Close enough.
albinism.
Close enough.
But the dogwood flower is either pink or white with gradient pink toward the center. It's not unrealistic to think that this may be a continuation of Celtic pagan beliefs, as many early Ozark settlers were descendants of immigrants from the British Isles. I hate calling them the British Isles because I'm more Scottish than I am Dutch, so I believe in Scottish freedom. Um, Though converted to Christianity hundreds of years ago, it's no secret that many of the old beliefs held fast. It's been well documented that Ozarkers believed in little people inhabiting stones and hills and held other animistic beliefs as well.
So that right there means Bruce will never go there if there's little people.
You're right. Yeah, I'm stuck far, far away from the Ozarks. Okay, so thinking along these lines, I wonder if the legend of the Snawfus could also be a local manifestation of the god Cernunnos. Both are antlered and associated with death and rebirth. The Lord of the Otherworld god type has manifested in different ways in Celtic myths through the ages, with and without the antlers. Just as those entities once revered as gods or powerful nature spirits became the little people, so too might such a timeless entity of Cernunnos manifest for his people who traversed so far from their origins as well, into a form in which he can be remembered anew. The writer of this is not alone in pondering of the divinity of the Snawfus. I've come across writings of modern admirers, or should I say followers of the Snawfus, that call his blue mist exhalation the breath of Alwyn and regard him as a spirit of nature. Yet there's another aspect to explore, the great tree that grows from his head. Some stories describe it as a plum tree, but most say it is a dogwood. There's a legend or two on how it got there, the main one being that a hunter who was out of bullets shot him in the head with a plum pit. The story may seem silly, but a flintlock rifle such as a muzzleloader could in fact fire a plum pit. This tale also seems to ignore the fact that it is commonly considered taboo to kill a white deer. And now,
dogwood. I've got a dogwood tree in my front yard.
Well, that's the thing. The dogwood tree in most of these Celtic traditions, actually, when the United States, when settlers from Ireland and Scotland and Britain and Wales, when they came over and settled the United States and settled into the Ozark areas, overseas it was a mountain ash or an ash tree. And up north, ash trees grow, everywhere. But in the Ozarks, dogwood trees are the more popular of the trees. So that could be a changing of the tradition of because the dogwood, the mountain ash are very similar woods. So that being said, it could have just been a substitution for the locals of the Ozarks, something that they could, claim as their own, like, the antlers of the Snawfus were originally mountain ash, and then they, over time and over, traditions intermingling with other, cultures and stuff of that nature, they could have, substituted one for the other.
Roland, you got anything to add in there while we're at this point?
No, you were talking about, going back to like Ireland and stuff like that, right? It says here that most deer mythological creatures really got their start in Italy by the Italians in the 1400s.
Well, no, exactly right. You know, the Pikes, the ones that came into and settled Ireland and Scotland, they were originally from. A lot of them were originally from the Greek islands and Italy and those areas. So that makes perfect sense.
And it's almost 100 years of breeding and migration kind of transformed all the deer creatures into what we have now.
Right, right. And it's interesting to see how these things folklore and tall tales of historical gods and of other religions and stuff like that have kind of morphed and evolved, so to speak, into what we have today.
What's really cool is though that they still keep the same premise.
Yes.
Like even all those years, still at the end of the day, the white deer is basically the same in every single version.
Yeah, for well over centuries, they've all kind of stayed true to the same tenets of the tradition.
Well, I mean that's in most societies, and and religion and whatnot. It's either revered or hated. I mean, it's either seen as a good thing or a bad thing. You know.
Yeah, so speaking of legends and lore and stuff of that nature, um, there's a lot of lore and legends about the dogwood tree. The tree is native to North America and Mexico. Despite where the actual tree originated, there's come to be a lot of Christian legends surrounding it. And I'm not saying that Christianity, like everybody has their own angle, their own cup of tea, their own religion, and that's absolutely fine. But there's a saying that the dogwood tree was Jesus's favorite tree, so it was chosen to be used for the cross he was crucified on. There's no way to verify any of that. It's legend. Um, uh, so the indentations and the blood rust stains on the ends were where the nails would go. So to suppose you cut open a dogwood tree, you can see that it's got uh, blood rust type spots in it. And I wish I should have grabbed a picture of the dogwood tree. The stamens are supposed to represent the crown of thorns, and the red fruit represents his blood. No doubt these colors, seen against dark branches, bring to mind the sacred color. Um, pause. Trinity of red, white, and black. Uh, Add this imagery to the fact that the tree blooms around the time of Easter from about mid April to mid May. There's also another legend that states that the dogwood was Adam's favorite tree, and so the devil tried to climb over the wall of Eden to get at it and destroy it, but only managed to take a little bite out of the end of every flower petal. Uh, so what all this tells me is that Christian settlers perhaps considered the tree both sacred and cursed, as they created a lore that intertwined it in such a way with their beliefs. Here, dogwood bark took the place of rowan, which is mountain ash, in the old rowan and red thread protective talisman from the Gaelic countries. Dogwood was used not only for home talismans but portable ones as well. Um, Says that some woodcutters who live on Sugar Creek in Benton County, Arkansas, believe that a mad dog never bites a man who carries a piece of dogwood in his pocket. According to an old gentleman uh, in Bentonville, and that was from Vance Randolph's Ozark Magic and Folklore. I've read a couple of chapters of this book. I found it online, absolutely free. I downloaded the PDF, and I've slowly been reading on it because, like we said earlier, we've covered several cryptids, and I want to say a few creepy things that are creepy stuffs that had Vance Randolph as the a an author. Um, Dogwood roots and twigs were also steeped in whiskey or boiled into a tea as a remedy for cold and fevers, and the bark was believed to cure colic. See, it's more of that mountain witch stuff, man.
Right.
Dog Dogwood and redbud are also traditional Ozark ingredients in love spells, blooming from mid-April to early May. The dogwood is seen in the Ozarks as an indicator that spring has arrived. In the old countries, this would have been hawthorn, which is not common here. And so the link Snawfus has with the dogwood seems to be a profound pairing for anyone celebrating May Day, spring equitherm, in the Ozarks. I think this mythos, imagery, and symbolism are an important part of the season.
Roland, anything to add into that section?
Not really.
I
Right
just want
on.
to make sure you're involved in it. No,
No, man,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
good.
Bruce talked
I mean,
about
I'm listening and learning just as much as you know.
a lot of these, like those who do watching like that, a lot of these are Bruce talking and me throwing some little tidbits in here and there. But it's always worked. But just want to make sure you're involved in it and
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah. Look, I am absolutely signed on to having you be a part of cryptids and creepy stuff going forward. I love all of our interactions on Special Dummies Unit, and I just, I just dig the camaraderie that we've got. All three of us.
Oh,
Fat. I'm sure you and David became fast friends like we did, so that's super cool.
no,
Uh,
I had to pay him.
oh, you had to pay him? Oh, well,
He offered me McDonald's.
my payment's in the mail. Send me your Cash App. I'll hook you up.
Oh.
Oh
So,
Lord.
in closing, today the Snawfus is claimed by some passionate locals to be the opposite to the folkloric cryptid known as the Ozark Howler, the yin to its yang, or that the two are connected in some way. What way exactly, nobody seems to entirely be certain. But they're often played out to be rivals, forces of nature, with one representing the peaceful side of nature while the other represents the harsh, merciless side. Encountering each creature is often said to be a sign of imminent doom, one just more pleasant than the other. Uh, perhaps citing one attracts the other. That being said, I believe that for every good thing there is an evil thing. I believe there has to be
Balance.
a hormonal balance. Science is Bruce does all the talking. All the talking. Sorry. We don't do it that way on purpose. It just kind of tends to happen.
It works for what we do,
So this picture, I'm glad David used this one. I kind of dig the more mystical, kind of mythical
Yeah.
spirit
Yeah,
spirit
that's the picture I used for the flyer.
yeah, the nature spirit type thing. Here's another kind of drawing of front, back, and sides, and then
It looks like the layout you see at a tattoo artist.
yeah.
That's exactly what it looks like.
It's what is that called? Clip art? I don't know
Yeah,
what it's
something
called.
like that.
Yeah, they got the folders of the clip arts where you can just go and get like rando Sailor Jerry style tattoos, and every single one of them is like the same but different. It's like the same basic concept, but then you have like one for like pirates, then you have one for like sailors, then you have one for like military, but it's the same one. It's like a strip of flesh that's about this long, and then like a weird knife going through it. Line art. That's what it's called. Line art.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, that's
Bruce,
all.
you want to give out the references and more information that can be
Yeah.
found
So
on it?
if you guys want to do some more research on the Snawfus, you could probably just Google Ozark Snawfus, or in general white deer mythology. But a lot of this information I got was from Leela A. Wade on the Trail of the Snawfus, like a whole book that was written and put out in October 1936 to March 1938. Vance Randolph, Fabulous Monsters in the Ozarks, written in 1950. Mr. Randolph's We Always Lie to Strangers, Tall Tales from the Ozarks in 1951. And then O.E. Rayburn in 1960, Some Fabulous Monsters and Other Folk Beliefs from the Ozarks, Midwest Folklore. And that was in 1960. So I like, I want to do like a scale of 1 to 10. Like I want to start doing like a scale of 1 to 10. Like for us, we can get the comment section involved. I would love to see more interaction in that way. Yeah, Mountain Witch. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you guys like the validity of this? Like, I'm not saying that like complete disbelief, but just like where you guys.
Can I read something real quick?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, so the psychology, the spirit of the Snawfus isn't just a representation of the natural world around us. It's a symbol of the natural life within us. The Snawfus moves outside of standard chronological time and shifts us into a non-technological,
Technological
way of being human. The invention of the Snawfus is to dive out of the digital threats that bind us into our everyday routine, to tumble headlong into thick, authentic, unintimidated experience.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that to me that sums it up. Like it's the Snawfus is
We already got somebody popping on here.
Fanktown.
One.
Hey, that's. I mean, look, there's some Arkansas cryptids that are more believable than others. There's some that have way more. The Garou, it didn't have a lot of recent sightings, but it had a lot more actual sightings than just local folklore.
But with the Snawfus, though, I really don't think it has anything to do with an actual physical sighting.
Oh,
no,
yeah,
probably not.
Agree.
I feel like that it's more of a spiritual thing. If you're walking through nature and you feel a breeze on the back of your neck, or if you're walking in autumn and it's just cold enough to not have a jacket on but not cold enough to not have like a hoodie on, and you got your sleeves rolled up and you're just enjoying nature, I feel like that's when we're closest to nature, because we're in it and we're experiencing it. And I believe that's kind of the closest we're gonna ever come to experiencing the nature spirit that is the Snawfus.
No, I completely agree. I feel it's more of a mental manifestation.
Yeah. It's almost like our you said it was like a mental unplugging from technology. When we walk in nature and we get back to nature, I mean, when you're in the woods, you don't have signal, so that kills your digital device, and you're more free to focus on the woods and your surroundings. Absolutely, it helps us reconnect to the earth, and I really enjoy. I know this is kind of weird, but I believe in grounding, where you take your socks and shoes off and you just walk barefoot in the grass. You know what I'm saying?
I'm too tender-footed.
No. I don't mean like running on
gravel.
I don't mean like running on gravel. I just mean like feeling the grass between your toes and just walking and reconnecting physically with Earth.
Trying to find some sort of tranquility.
Yeah. It's that, because like socks and shoes, they separate our bodies from. They insulate our bodies from the weather, from hard things, from sharp things, from all these things. You know, there used to not be a such thing as socks and shoes, and people walked around and were way more connected to Mother Nature and Earth in general. And I know that's going to sound really mountain witchy, but I'm kind of feeling it. The Snawfus has put me in the mood. Well, welcome to another episode of In Bed with Bruce.
This is not Thursday.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I was.
Well, and I'm looking at it. You know, I honestly, when we first looked into this, I was expecting a 20-minute episode. It Thank or whatever your name is, and I'll go back and go watch the episode over again. We fully you came in late.
Yeah, we're not. No, this
it,
isn't something that we made up. If we did, we should be making money off this because
right.
This thing has been around for centuries, literally centuries.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I honestly didn't expect. You know, we've gone almost an hour with this, so there was a lot more on it than I was expecting. I mean, generally, you know, most of the explanations were similar, description wise. But yeah, it was a lot more meat to it than I expected. So.
Yeah, and that's like our next cryptid. I won't.
Don't spoil it because we got.
I'm not gonna spoil it.
Next.
Oh yeah, we got a creepy stuff next. But our next cryptid. You can Google. You can jump on Google real quick, and you could find all the information that we found and everything that we found on the Snawfus. But if you want to know where you can watch our episodes, you can find us on SDU Networks on YouTube, Bruce McGowan on YouTube, Draven Morrow on YouTube, SDU, Bruce McGowan, Roland, David on Facebook. The videos are out there. And as soon as this episode's over. As soon as this episode's over, you can actually hit, replay, and it'll play it from the beginning.
Yeah, we've got a lot of detailed explanations on it. And that's the one thing with the Cryptids episode is that we may not get the live viewership that we do on other stuff that we do, but the rewatch rate, we get a lot more rewatches on the Cryptids episodes than we do anything else. So it's pretty cool.
A mining town in Georgia is called Snawfus?
Yeah, I don't think you spelled that right.
Yeah, like I said, put in Snawfus. You can even put in like Arkansas or Ozarks. Yeah, there's a lot of information on it,
Yeah, bro.
But like I said, man, go back and watch the episode, and there's a lot of we.
I even spelled it wrong. I even spelled it wrong, and it pulled it off. Snawfus.
What in the world? But anyway, well, I think this is a good time to wrap it up for this week. We do have, I know, at least three more episodes in this series.
Yeah, we're gonna do a cryptid, then we're gonna do a creepy stuff next. Then we're going to do a cryptid, and then we're going to have our grab bag episode, which should be our last episode of the year.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of the
or of this season.
It'll have a lot of just stuff that doesn't really have a lot to it, but it'll be like Bruce said, good old grab bag. So, but
just to kind of round out the state. Yeah, I know there's been several that didn't have a lot of meat to them, but we'll add them all together, and there'll be many different types of meat for the consumption.
Right. But those of you that watch, we appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to all our stuff, SDU Networks. If you ain't got nothing going on tomorrow, tune in tomorrow for Special Dummies Unit. We do that every Thursday. Most definitely, Debbie. Next will be creepy. So you never know what we'll pull out of our little hat of tricks. I don't even know. I was brain farting right there. But
I'll pull it out from under my beard.
That's a Skittle.
But anyway, we appreciate y'all for watching. Share the links. let's get some views out there. Let's get some more people watching, and hopefully we can continue this through the end of this season, and then we will take a little bit of time off and start the next season. But where will we be going? Who knows?
We've got a big map on the wall in the headquarters. We're just gonna throw a dart.
That's what I was gonna tell you to do, man. Just toss a dart like off,
right behind us.
Dr. Dolittle.
We're not even gonna look at it. We're just gonna throw it behind us, and wherever it lands is. If it lands in the Pacific, oh gosh.
Yeah, we're screwed.
Yeah, we're screwed. There's all kinds of crazy stuff out there, ghost ships and stuff. And
well, everybody, appreciate you watching. Have a good night.
Absolutely. Good night, y'all.